Section 107 of the Fire Suppression Rating Schedule shows the 6 criteria required to receive a public protection classification rating of less than 10. If you fail to meet any of these criteria, you will receive a Class 10 rating. Let's take a look at each one of these individually. The first of the minimum criteria involves organization. The graded area must be organized under applicable state or local laws and must have defined boundaries published by the authority having jurisdiction. For municipality, this means that the corporate limits definition must be contained in an ordinance or a municipal code. For areas other than municipalities, such as fire districts, fire protection territories, etc., an ordinance or parish code adopted by the police jury or parish government will suffice. There also must be one person responsible for operation of the fire department. That person usually has the title of fire chief. The second of the 6 minimum criteria address manpower response. A minimum of 4 firefighters from the graded area must respond on initial alarm to all reported structure fires. For PIAL, we use an average. Your average response to working fires is the number that we will use to determine the minimum criteria and whether or not it were met. This includes all department members arriving at the scene of the fire, including the fire chief. Please understand that automatic and mutual aid responders are not used to determine compliance with the minimum criteria, although their manpower could be creditable in the manpower section of the worksheets. Junior firefighters are not counted as responding members. PIAL understands that there may be an occasional alarm where less than 4 members respond. That's okay. Doing so will not disqualify you from receiving a public protection classification less than 10. The next criteria that I'd like to discuss will be training. The Fire Suppression Rating Schedule states that the fire department must provide training related to suppression of structure fires for active members for at least 3 hours every 3 months. On the surface, this appears to say the department must only provide the training even if no one attends. But what good is training if no one attends? Therefore, in Louisiana, we interpret this to mean that at least one active member of each department must receive a minimum of 12 hours of training related to suppression of structure fires during the graded year. If no members receive the minimum of 12 hours of training, you will not receive a rating less than Class 10. The fourth of the 6 minimum criteria addresses emergency communications. When an alarm is received at a public safety answering point, it's critical for that alarm to reach emergency responders as quickly as possible. This criteria evaluates the facilities available to prevent delays in dispatching the fire companies after receipt of a structural fire alarm. The most obvious item needed in a fire department is a fire truck. Therefore, the 5th of the 6 minimum criteria addresses apparatus. The fire department must have at least one apparatus meeting the general criteria of NFPA 1901. For areas with Class 1 through 8 gradings, at least one pumper in the fire department must have a permanently mounted pump with a minimum capacity of 750 gallons per minute at a pump pressure of 150 psi, and its water tank must house at least 300 gallons of water. For Class 9 dwelling only areas, at least one pumper must have a permanently mounted pump with a minimum capacity of only 250 gallons per minute at a pump pressure of 150 psi, and its water tank needs to carry 200 gallons of water. In addition, the department must be capable of delivering a minimum of 500 gallons to all first alarm structure fires. Equipment carried on the trucks is different depending upon the classification. For Class 9 dwelling only areas, refer to Section 1300 of the FSRS for a complete listing. The last of the minimum criteria addresses housing of pumper, ladder, and service company apparatus. These trucks must be housed to prevent their exposure to the weather and deteriorating conditions. Buildings housing these apparatus must have a roof, they must have walls, and they must have a door. Tents, lean-tos, RV canopies, and similar structures are not creditable. These stations must have heaters to keep the pumper, ladder, and service company apparatus from freezing during winter months. Finally, trucks that act solely as water delivery vehicles need not be housed. As always, we at the Property Insurance Association hope this information has been useful to you. Please do not hesitate to call us should you have any questions or concerns about the contents of this presentation. Have a great day, and thank you for listening.